I actually returned the 16 Plus.
Who's to know what happens when the world ends? At least this is an okay bar for running.
I've been using my iPhone 12 Pro Max for the last 3.5 years, and it has literally gone through hell and back with me. And by hell and back, I mean random drops from different heights. I've put it in water, I've dunked it, I've thrown it across the room, I take it to the gym with me. It has probably been under some form of weights at some point, I'm pretty sure. And I don't even use a case with it anymore. So the last year or so, I've just used it, no case, no screen protector, and it's held up great. But I do have some gripes with it, the biggest being the fact that the battery life absolutely sucks. I'm at 77 battery health and it does not work for me. The cameras are no longer what they used to be in terms of just keeping up. Other issue I have with it is storage. I made the mistake of getting a 128 gig model, and although cloud storage does work, I just hate the fact that I can't save stuff locally, which I prefer. I don't know why. Maybe I'm showing my age at this point, but I don't use iCloud. I am through and through a Google Photos guy. I have a lot of old stuff backed up, and I wish I had more storage to be able to just locally save stuff. So when the new iPhones came out, I figured I would just trade my old phone in and get the newest version. But for whatever reason, I just didn't want to trade it in. And my God, I'm so glad I didn't, because I actually returned the 16 Plus. But before I tell you why I returned the iPhone 16 Plus, there are a lot of good things that I also want to talk about. So let's get into it.
It's getting a little bit out of control. The way you look so good without trying it out.
So let's talk about the design of the 16 and the 16 Plus. I don't know what it is, but it makes me really nostalgic because it reminds me of the HTC Desire 820 phones of yesteryear. Something about the rounded edges while the phone is so flat, as well as the placement of the cameras in the back and the way the speakers are laid out, really remind me of an older phone when phones were kind of at the bleeding edge of innovation, which unfortunately they aren't anymore. That being said, I also love the color of the new phones. If you saw my unboxing, I raved about how much I loved the teal colorway. And the fact that it is a matte finish also does such a good job of hiding fingerprints, which was really appreciated, especially compared to my extremely finger magnety, is that even a real word, of my iPhone 12 Pro Max. It just so much better. The speakers on the phone are also extremely good. They are definitely something to rave about, and they're round in full. There's barely any distortion except in very high levels. And if you're someone like me who watches YouTube all day long pretty much in the background, this is really great. You can hear it over the shower, you can hear it over the exhaust fan, like anything you're doing, you will hear these speakers. So they're absolutely fantastic. The battery life on this phone was also splendid. The fact that I went from charging my old phone 4 to 5 times a day, right, you heard it right, a day, to now just charging it 1 to 2 times, especially if I was being conservative and I was lightly using my phone, I could literally get away with charging it once a day, which is something so refreshing. Something honestly I didn't enjoy in the last few years. So yeah, I literally can't complain about the battery life. There are a couple more things that I really like about this phone. The first being the digital island, which I think is a really useful feature that is constantly now evolving as more and more apps are now able to take advantage of it. I think that it is a lot more useful than having a notch that just blocks out a bit of the screen, which honestly kind of sucks. I also wanted to talk about the cameras, which are great this year, as every year. I think Apple does the most consistent job of putting cameras that are reliable and likable in almost every single scenario compared to all other manufacturers of phones. The pictures are sharp, they're nicely colored, the video is great, the audio is amazing. I think it's better than the mic that I'm recording out of. I think you'd find it really difficult to complain about these cameras. If you're used to the general vibe and style of cameras that come from an iPhone, you'll feel right at home. And while we are in the topic of cameras, let's talk about the picture taking experience, which is where I think this phone starts to fall apart. The camera control feature might be the most gimmicky feature that Apple has ever put in an iPhone ever. Did I mention ever? Most people use their iPhones as a point and shoot camera, and getting used to this feature takes a lot more effort than it does to just use the touchscreen of your phone. If you are a pro phone photographer, I could see how it could be useful, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that it is extremely hard to get used to. Personally, I tried for the sake of using it for the first day or two, and then I just started using the touchscreen of the phone. When your phone's touchscreen is so good, I don't think it needs an additional button to be able to control it. Most people also use their phones for vertical content, be it for TikTok or for your Instagram stories. It makes it absolutely useless when shooting vertical content. What is also unfortunate is the lack of a 120Hz screen on a $1,000 phone. I think this comes off really badly on Apple because they're trying to differentiate their pro phones from their non-pro phones using a feature that budget phones already have. What is the excuse in 2024 to not have a 120Hz screen on a phone that costs as much as this? I don't know. Everything else is great about the screen. It gets really bright as well as really dim, the latter which I appreciate more. If you are a bedtime phone scroller like I am, you would definitely appreciate this difference. That being said though, I did find an issue which kind of bothered me a lot. So for whatever reason, it wouldn't register my touches properly. If I'm using my phone one-handed, I wouldn't be able to swipe from left to right to go back to the previous screen on, say, Chrome or almost any other app, which was really weird. I don't know if this was just my unit, but why doesn't that work? Why does it feel so laggy? I don't know. And the final nail in the coffin was the overheating issues. I know the iPhone 15 struggled with this and Apple was supposedly supposed to fix it, but it hasn't fixed it yet. Every time I would push the phone, it would overheat. If I was charging my phone and using Instagram, it starts overheating. If I use the video cameras for too long, shooting 4K 24 FPS, it would overheat. If it's brightly hot outside and I would just randomly scroll on my phone, it will start overheating. And this was something that never happened with my 12 Pro Max. And so I returned it. My conclusion is simple. If you are coming from an iPhone 12 or older and you are in desperate need of a phone and an iPhone is your only choice, then get the 16 Plus or the 16. It will bring you up to speed with what is the bleeding edge of technology in 2024, and it is a far superior product that you will like enjoying. If you can deal with the grievances of your current phone, such as a slightly mediocre camera or having to charge it multiple times a day, then I say save your money and keep your old phone. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.